Hi there guys, it's Mike from MCQBushcraft here. Welcome to another video on the channel. Been out doing some shooting today, and I also brought my backpack with me as well. This is the LK35 Swedish military frame pack. Been modified quite a lot, and you know, if you follow the channel, I've been using this gear for quite some time. A lot of people out there have been using this pack a long time before I did, but when I picked up on it, because I was on a budget, I got it for about 25 quid. Made some mods to it with some pouches and a waist belt, and it transformed it really, and I've been using it ever since, and it's a fantastic backpack. But this time of year things quieten down a lot for me. I don't have as many courses on, if any at all, in December, which is nice really, because I get some time off to do some other things I need to do, like leather work, but it also gives me time to spread all my equipment out, have a good look at it, and reflect back on the experiences I've had in the year, and make those changes to all my gear that I've needed to. But in this video here, I want to go over this backpack. Before I cover the gear in another video, I want to show you all the changes that I've made to it, just as a bit of an update on the pack, because I've been asked a number of questions about it, and just show you what I've done. One major change I made to the pack when I first got it was stitching on some side pouches, and it wasn't these originally to begin with. It was some Swedish military webbing pouches that were almost the same colour as the pack, and I got those off eBay. It's a popular mod actually that a lot of people do, to putting something on the side of these just to increase the capacity. So these British military pouches replace the smaller pouch I used to have stitched on. But if we open the pouch up with the buckle at the top there, I generally keep AA batteries just here on one of them, and you can keep all sorts of stuff there, maybe even keep cartridges or rifle rounds or any kind of little useful item. And if we look inside the pack, you can also see that you've got that inner slip pocket, which is pretty good for priority items like fabric scissors for a med kit, any kind of thing that you need to access and you want it separated from the main bulk of the pouch. A really small change that I made was just on these main straps here. These main straps are often used on the original pack to hold things on the bottom as well, but you can see that I've made a big change on the bottom there and added more straps, which I'll talk about in a sec. But one thing I always got sick of was when I undid these, they'd slip that back down through the bottom here and just fall out. And it means that also if you want to use this piece of strap here to actually hold something as well, let's say you've got a sleep mat that you want to grip through there, that you can undo the main pack without that sleep mat then dropping off and rolling off somewhere, which used to happen all the time with this kit, and it kind of almost separates the strap into two parts. One really simple mod that I've seen a lot of people do on lots of different packs is add a grab strap just to the top there with two buckles and a piece of webbing, and it just fixes straight to the frame, which is obviously a really good contact point, and it's not going to come off unless the actual strap fails, which is unlikely. But it means I can hang it up, or I can actually just pick the pack up and move it somewhere if I need to. Another fairly big change to it has been the back pad here that ties into the actual shoulder strap as well. And I really owe my thanks to a chap out there called Kay. He gave me a call. He's a friend of mine who I've met sort of through YouTube, and he gave me a call and said he was in an army surplus store, and he'd just seen these back pads and that they fitted on the LK35. I think he has the same pack, and he was getting one for his, and he wanted to know whether I wanted one. And he just sent it to me as a gift really. And although I can see its disadvantages in the warmer months, because one of the great things about the LK35 is when you've got the back set up as standard, it's just two straps that go against your back with about a 2-inch air gap, so you never get a sweaty back in the summer when you've been hiking. But in the winter, it actually adds a little bit of insulation, and it is a lot more comfortable. But it connects to the back of the frame via some poppers, and also connects to the actual strap itself with some Velcro and some poppers. I was pretty dubious about it at first when it first came out the packet, but once I got it on there properly and tried it out, I was very impressed. So thanks very much for that, Kay. It's being used and really getting on with it well. One of the early changes to the pack was this waist belt here. This is a US kidney belt, but the way you tie the belt on is really important. I've seen a lot of people just tie the belt on to the main run of the actual frame down the side, and it gives the belt the ability to slip up and down, and that doesn't really keep the weight on your hip. That means that it just keeps the pack close to your back. You need to mount the kidney belt on the actual triangular bit of the frame where the shoulder straps tie into, where everything ties into, and that way it has no movement at all. and it stays rigid in one place and actually almost faces down at an angle into the centre, into the base of your back, where all that weight needs to kind of be. So it is important how you attach it really, and I've seen quite a few connected the other way and tried them on, and they don't compare at all. So if you do get one and you put a strap on it, make sure you tie it into this triangular bit at the actual bottom there. A couple of small changes to the inside of the pack, but valid ones, is just stitching on a bit of webbing here just to hold a water bladder. One thing I really don't like is when the bladder sumps down into the actual pocket there and you're packing things in and all the water's popping up and it's just not stable. You just need something like that just to tie it in, and the plastic bit broke off my camelback, so I've just put a toggle on there just to keep it there. But also one change I made early on was adding some foam, just a normal camping mat, to the actual pack, and that's what gives it its shape. And it can also come out and be used as a changing mat for when you're changing. Some people I've even seen use them as pillows, which is quite useful for that. But just a bit of foam there is really good, you know, good on your knees as well if you're kneeling down doing something for a long time. But it does give the pack that rigidity that it needs and stops it kind of flapping around everywhere. So those are the only changes I've made inside. So the biggest change I made to the pack was welding on an extra piece of frame from another LK35. Is this piece here that you see at the bottom, this curved bit, that I basically just got the disc cutter and chopped it off one of the frames and MIG welded it onto the bottom of the original frame for this pack here. One of my biggest problems with the pack was it was these straps that were responsible for holding things at the bottom. And my answer to that at one point was these buckles here, like I mentioned first of all, because it really annoyed me the way I did this. And then my tarp, without these buckles here, my tarp would drop on the floor. And another bigger issue with that is that whatever you strap to the bottom of the pack, it crushes into the pack and you lose capacity on the inner compartment. And the inner compartment for me is the most important one. It's where I want to preserve as much capacity as possible for things like my sleeping gear and warm clothing. And those are the most important things really when I'm outside, is all the stuff that stops me getting cold, getting wet and getting exposed. All the other bits like sleep, like cooking kit and knives and stuff, they're just tools really. It's this stuff here that's going to give you that comfort that you need. So I reserve the inside for as much of that as possible and put everything else on the outside if I can. But I decided to eliminate the use of these straps completely. As I said, you still could use them to hold something small just in here, which they are really useful for, and it tucks up nicely in this little space we've got here and doesn't interfere with the capacity as long as it's not something that needs strapping down too tight. You can see that these buckles here are actually dedicated. It's just staying on this part of the frame. So this is my tarp, as I mentioned. This is the DD 3x3 in the quick deployment setup. I've done videos about this if you're interested, but this is the only thing that I really put on the bottom. It's not too heavy, and I don't like anything heavy being down here, and I'll explain in a moment. I can sit this pack down and it stands up quite nicely, and sadly the only paint I had was black. I'm going to spray it green at some point, but I just had some etch primer and black, satin black paint, so for the time being this will do. And I've put some plugs on the end just to stop water and stuff getting in. So this is the pack on. You can see it just there, nice and comfortable, not really any interference on my bum there, which is really a pet hate on packs for me. And you know, it's a good pack, really good pack. Very happy with it now. I've made those changes to it. I've got bigger side pouch capacity, built-in bladder now, and it's all hooked up nicely. Nice comfy back part and comfy on the shoulders too with that extra padding, and it fits perfectly. And on the waist, with that waist belt, you can see that the pack just pivots on the hip, as I've shown you in other videos with it fully loaded as well. It just pivots on the hip, and that's really what you want. And I said earlier I don't like heavy stuff at the bottom of the pack, and if you look at the old school hikers, you'll see them packed with gear sky high above their head, but nothing below this point here apart from maybe a foam roll mat or some sort of light item like a bit of rain equipment. So it's important really that you have it like that. You'll be able to bear the weight of all the equipment so much better if you keep it close to your back and you also keep it up high, it will all sit very nicely. If you have lots of heavy stuff like a big sleep system and everything hanging down below your bum, it will really interrupt your pacing as you move, and it'll make you very uncomfortable, and you'll really feel it, and it will drag you down like this. Whereas if you keep it high and close to your back, it's in line with your body, and you will bear that load so much better, and you'll be able to hike for really long distances with heavy gear. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it's been useful. I'll put links in the description as best I can of the things that I've done to the pack and where I've got it from. It's not always the easiest thing to do, because ex-surplus gear comes and goes, and sometimes there's just nothing and then it appears again online. But I'll do my best to find the things and put them below in the description. And hopefully you'll join me in my next video, where I'll be covering all the gear I've got in this pack and all the changes I've made to it, and also go over my sleep system as well, which I know I was going to cover a while ago, but I did make some changes to it, and wasn't prepared to do the video just yet till I was 100% happy with it. So thanks for watching. See you very soon in another video. Take care.